Hey everybody, Trevor back with you from Hood Time Welding. Today we're going to be working on another barbecue pit. I know I've done two already, but this one's different. Each one's been a little different size. The first one was 10 foot by 48 inches or something like that. 10 foot long, 48 inches across, 31 inches wide. The next one was 28 foot by 50 inches by 26. This one's 12 foot by 5 foot by 31 inches high. But the difference is this has got a little bit more going on it. Just like on the first one, we're going to be cutting air ingress, vents in the bottom like we did on the first one. But on this one, they actually requested we put little doors on that, so we've got those to do. And then the racks themselves, I'm not going to take credit for the design. They already had an old barbecue pit, this fire company, but they need a new one. The old one's getting rotten out. But so I took the design from them on how to get the racks to flip. We're going to have a rack top and bottom, hinges on it, bolts to hold it closed, and I'll show you that. It's going to be a little different. They're not going to have to use a wrench or anything, but and then they're going to be able to flip it with one person. So that's where the design comes up. And like I said, I got the design from where the old one. Hey man, take it where you can get it. But you guys have already seen me make the bases on these. Let me switch you around. You guys have already seen me make the base on the first two, so I'm not going to go into that. And I already got the sides made up. Mrs. Hood Times, actually, you might see her out here later today, cutting and cleaning up some parts for me. But she's done a lot of cutting for me. But I've already got both sides made. It's going to be like the last one, and we made the sides, and we're going to put it together doing this. So we're using the table a little bit. I got it lined up on the edges to help with my squareness. But now what we got to do is get each end squared and, get the ends in, because that's where I start on these. I'll start on this end and the far end, get those two ends tacked in, and then I'll make sure the overall is square. Get all that, make sure that's tacked in, and then I'll go through and put each one of the center ones in. So it just makes it easier, so you're not fighting with every one of the braces when you're trying to get it square at the end. That's why I do it in the middle, or I do the ends first, and then I'll square it. But on one of my last videos, well, it won't be a last video for you, but one on a while back, they said they liked my point of view and going live action. So what we're going to do today is we're going to actually, while I'm squaring up this one end, I'm just going to wear you on my head. That's why I got the contraption on, and get this end fed up, so you guys sort of see the process instead of in time lapse. You'll actually see it in real life. So we'll see how long that takes us. I'm going to go ahead and get you switched over, and we'll get started. All right. Okay, she's clicked in. So first thing we're going to do is I actually got the bottom piece already in. Just figure make it a little bit faster. We're going to make sure everything's flush up. I mean, the bottoms are flush because I got them on the plates. So we can put a single tack. I'm just doing a single right now. Do them right down in the corner. We've got that single tack in. And then what we're going to do is put our top piece in here. Or we're going to try to. All right. There's one. There's the second one. All right, so that's squared up. So that needs to come out. Needs to come out just a teeny bit. So before we even get to that part, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by trying to square the bottom up here a little bit with the table. Oh. See, you can see she's way off. We're going to use our bottom tacks here sort of help with that. Not quite there, but it's a lot closer than it was. Let's see if we use this side, help pull that side. See, this side's way the heck off. Get this over here so it's right there when I need it. So yeah, I start by trying to get this. This is where it sort of sucks. Get the rest right on that crown of the angle. I might have actually broke the tack on my other side. I have to check it when we get done here. Alright, let's see what that did for us. Brought us a little closer. I probably broke one of these when I was pushing. So it's, I think, bottom one here. See what she looks like now. Oh, right on, right there. That's where we wanted that. Let's see what it did to our other side. She's still out a little, but a lot closer. Now we're going to put a tack up in each corner. Make sure we got everything flushed up. Start on this top corner. Again, getting it flushed up. Top corner again. So, let's see where we're looking. See, we still got, this still needs to go over that way. But, let's see how this side looks. This side, they both need to go. So if we rack it just a little bit, see if that helped at all. Use the long side. Get up here further. There we go. That's pretty dang close. And I mean, you got to remember, this is a barbecue pit, so it's not like this stuff has to be perfect, but I try to get her as close as I freaking can. Still needs to be racked a little bit more. It doesn't look bad. Another little shove. So what I did is I opened this up just a teeny bit by pushing on it. So by opening it up, this is your pivot point. It's going to bring this over. Let's see what that did for us. There we go. Right there. Oh, look at that. She might even came a little much, but I'm good with that because she's going to suck a little bit. So let's go ahead and throw another tack up here. And now we're going to actually check the overall. Let me get this out of the way. We're going to check how square we are. So we're at 67 3/4. So we need to come back, because this is at 67.5. We need to come back an 1/8 this way. So all that did was bring us over here. Knock our clamp off here. See if it did anything anyways. Nope. So what we want to do, we have too much leverage on that end. We're going to actually try to throw a clamp back on here. What do I got for clamps that might work? You know what? I wonder if we can go. Is this going to be tall enough? It should. Put it to hold this side down just a little bit. All right, where's my big hammer? See if that did anything. Oh, look at that. A couple little love taps. 67 5/8. $67 5/8. That's exactly what we wanted. So we're going to finish tacking this in position. These two bottoms corner. And we'll get the top corners here. So yeah, I mean, I was getting it close by using the regular square, but this is so big, sometimes it's hard to get the total squareness, or get it totally square that way. You know, if you're out 32nd on the bottom, by the time you get to the top, you know, it grows. So I get that close, and then I come back and do this. That means we have it right on. So this end is set, it's square, it's right where we want it. So what we're going to do next is we'll go down to that other end. We'll do the same thing as we just did with this end. Then after that, we'll do the squareness across the top here. And once we have that square, we'll go ahead and put the rest of our center braces in. I'm not going to leave you on real time doing all that, because the video would end up being long as all heck. I'll go back to time lapse, but yeah, I just wanted to do another short piece of this video on, you know, my point of view, just to sort of give you a feel of what my thoughts are as I'm fitting this stuff and that. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's start you on time lapse. I got this all done, framework all done, I actually did diagonals on it again, and we're within a 30 seconds. So it tweaked just a little bit welding, which happens. But now that we have this done, what we're going to move on to is sheeting it. This time, the sheeting I'm going to do a little bit different because this needs vents. So what we're going to do on this one is I already started. I wasn't worried about you guys watching me cut some steel. I got the extra, these are 12 foot. The pieces I've got are only 10. So we have to add on a piece to equal out to the length we need. So what we're going to do is we're going to just put a couple tacks in here to hold this, flip it, tack a couple places more, because after tacking it, like I said, this one needs vents. We're going to lay the vents out over here and get them cut in with it on a flat instead of trying to do it when it's up on the side, because the last time that was a pain in the butt. I'd welded it all out, so everything was it just warps just a little bit. So this time I'm going to pre-cut the vents flat and then tack it on, put the grating behind the vent, or put the expanded metal behind the vents before I weld it all the way out. And then actually I'm also going to be cutting the V's in for the where the racks are going to sit before I weld everything out, so that way everything's in place. I thought about putting the V's in sooner, or the angles in sooner, but I think the sheet metal is going to hold the frame, sort of like it's going to hold it in place while when I cut those and get them tacked in, because otherwise there's a chance of everything tweaking. So by having it all tacked together, it should sort of hold everything still. And then, like I said, I'll weld the whole thing out. There's a couple other little steps in there we'll get to as we get to them. But like I said, right now I'm working on this sheet metal. All I did was you can see, I got this big old piece of steel. I'm just using it as a straight edge, just to make sure that this is, this is straight. But yeah, so we'll go ahead, get this tacked together. We're not going to weld it all the way. That'll be at the end once it's on, so we have something to hold it in place. We have the top and the bottom to hold it in place so it doesn't warp as much and that. So we're going to go ahead and keep going. So halfway through the video there, I don't know if you noticed, but this is a new day for me. So the other day as I got done drilling, I think 2 of the holes, or 4 of the holes for the slots. You saw I have a new, it's a combination regular drill, hammer drill. We'll do a review on it. I haven't had it long enough. You know me, I like to have something for a little bit before I do it. So we got the rest of the holes drilled. We did the slots. You saw we already had that end all set up. So the next thing I was setting up was for the hinges for the flappers. So what I needed to do, sorry, also I've got a little bit of a cold today. These hinges, when you put them on the flappers, because I'm going to make them out of 1/8 inch steel just like this, that means they wouldn't sit flat. They'd be sitting up like this a little bit if I didn't put any spacer behind it. So I cut some 1/8 inch spacers, but the other reason I'm going to put these on now is I can put these on, tack them in place, and then make the hinges with the door up afterwards. And once it's all together and I'm done flipping around, all I have to do is line up the edge of the hinges with the edge of this block, and that'll have the doors right where they need to be, which I thought would be a lot easier than trying to locate everything and getting the center marks out. Just everything's a lot easier when it's flat. So I figured I would pre-tack these on in the place they need, you know, how high up they need to be centered. So then all I got to do is, once the door is attached to this, line these edges up, tack it, and she's all set to go. So I'm just trying to make stuff a little bit easier. It's learning from each one I do and also sort of thinking things out. So we're going to go through, get those 4 tacked on. We already have them pre-made for the next one, so that'll save a little bit of time. We got figured out what size the door is going to be and all that. So we're going to get those tacked on, and then this sheet will be ready to put over on the frame itself. We'll get it tacked down, and we'll do the frame on the other, or we'll do the sheet on the other side, and then we got to cut out for the V's or the angles for where the rack's set. So that's sort of where we're at right now. I can't remember exactly what we talked about last time, so I just wanted to make sure I had you guys all caught up to it. So let's continue working. Like I said, we're going to be tacking those on, and then we'll get the sheet up. So let's go. So before we get going, there's one thing I do want to point out. I don't know if you noticed at the beginning when I was laying these out, I went through and I did a center mark all the way down. And I almost totally screwed up, because what I forgot was this sheet overall is 1 inch shorter than the frame, because we want a 1/2 inch gap, or 1/2 inch off of either end, so that you know, I've got to space the weld on the angle and stuff. So I'd originally taken all my measurements off the frame, laid it all out with those measurements, and I'm like, oh crap. Before I cut anything, before I laid anything else out, I'm like, oh crap, I need to move those 1/2 inch. So I almost screwed up. I thought you guys might enjoy that, because like anybody, I screw up just like anybody else. Luckily on this one, I caught it before it became a major error. It's just a matter of just wiping it down and redrawing those with a 1/2 inch change in the dimension. So just thought you might find that a little bit of funny. I did. I was like, whew. I was very relieved when I figured that one out. So anyways, let's get back to it. day or two since I talked to you guys last. I know it doesn't seem like that in the video, but it is. You saw I got this side on. I didn't even worry about taping the other side. You already saw how I made this side, got it put together, got it put on. You guys have seen that before. If you haven't, you can go check out my other videos, the last two that I've made these. So the next step was we started putting in our place where our racks are going to be sitting. I already did 4 of them just so I could get a feel of how to do it, the best way to do it. I originally was trying to draw my center line down, set this here so I know I was flush, hold this, make sure our tip was in the center line, and then draw. And it was a little bit of pain in the butt because you had to get way under there, make sure you were lined right up. And what I figured out while I was doing that when I did this first one, because when you had this, I still had to take these lines across. Well, luckily I found out with my square, you set it on either side of the center line here and do a mark like that. It's the same width as the angle here. And that one I got a little sloppy, it's a little wide. And my tip's not as sharp as it was. Anyway, so I can do that. Do a 45 coming down off right here from where the line is here and where it intersects my center line. And I have drawn what I need to cut out, put my angle in. So it makes life a lot easier than trying to put this on and duck under and stuff. So we're going to go ahead and you cut that out, put this up in here. See, I'll clamp this on, making sure it's flush here on the back and on top so that we know this is flush. And then I'll put a single tack here, do the other side. And the only reason I put a single tack here and on the other side is then we've got a long straight bar that I'm going to run across and make sure it's sitting right into this angle nice. So we don't have any like hot spots of where it's rubbing against more and putting more pressure against, just so it lasts a lot longer. But I'm only doing these 2 at a time because my thing is you're cutting out most of this angle when you're doing this. So we want to fill back in each section so that this doesn't start tweaking one way or another. The other thing is, so after I get it tacked in and I get it all tacked where I want it, I'm putting welds here, and then down here, pretty much restoring the strength that was there. And I'll do more because I'll weld the whole back side. But for right now, we're just getting this side welded. Then that way, once we're ready, we'll lift it up, put it on sawhorses, and I can stitch out the whole interior, which you guys seen me do. So we'll go ahead and do some time lapse. I'm gonna get the last 4 of these ones in. I'm not gonna worry about time lapse and putting the ends on. You guys have seen that on my other 2 videos of making these, and I'm not gonna worry about time lapse in the welding because you guys seen me do plenty of that. So once we get these in, what we'll do is I'll start making the doors. So I'll probably time lapse that, just getting them cut out and stuff, and then we'll once I get them cut out, we'll go ahead and stop, and I'll explain exactly my thoughts on making the doors, which, I mean, they're not difficult, but you know, there's a few little things that I've thought through and figured out in that. So all right, let's get back to work. So there you have it. Here's this base done. Like I said, this one was a little bit more just because of between putting these in where we'll put the racks on so they can rotate, and doing the doors down here. The doors are a little floppy, but sorry, they hook up, they flop down. I had to adjust them just slightly because of these are so thin, and you know, but they're all pretty well on there. I mean, I still have a little bit of bow in places just because of, let me see if you can get a look down it. I don't know how well you guys can tell, but I mean, when you're rolling solid on sheet metal like this, it's gonna bow some. From the first one to this one, I did on the last one too. What I did is I skipped around. You know, I'd do like 12, 16 inches, skip that, 12 to 16 inches, skip that. And that helped some, but there's still some bow in there where I welded on the catches for where the doors hook onto. That bows it just a little bit. Where the blocks are, that bows it just, everything just bows everything just a little bit. And then everything doesn't fit exactly perfect. But the doors are, they open and close. If they're really worried about sealing them, they can just set something against them. You know, that's as tight as I can get them with the hardware I've got. The hinges are a little light, but you don't need anything real heavy because, I mean, they're a light piece, but because of being light, when you weld on them, they're going to bend just a little bit. I mean, it just, heat stuff up, it's going to bend. But it mainly cuts off the airflow, which is, I think, what they're looking for. And, you know, it's not perfect, but it'll definitely make a difference in that. So I think this video is probably getting pretty long. So I'm going to go ahead and cut it for now. Or, you know, start a new video for when we do the racks. All I have to do on this base is clean it, and then I have to put the angles on for the stops for the racks, not the turn. But I sort of consider that with the racks because that's sort of part of that. And so I'll just include that, but otherwise the base is done. I think it looks pretty decent. But anyways, you enjoy my stuff, big thumbs up is always appreciated. Any comments, questions, concerns, just want to say hello, whatever. I like to hear it. And we'll catch you on the next one. Bye.